Hmm. Hmm. Well, I've got a spell, but I've got a +2 to that. You've been staring at your character sheet for 10 minutes. Please just do something. How's it going? And welcome to No Fun Allowed's How to GM series. And today I want to talk about the fact that the answer isn't always on your character sheet. Now, while we play these role-playing games that have skills and features and whatever else to utilize in running these games, at the end of the day, a lot of the time, whatever you plan on doing is coming from the heart, and more importantly, coming from your brain. Sometimes when a problem presents itself, you can't just stare at your character sheet. You've got to collaborate with your teammates. You got to think for yourself. And most important of all, you got to start rolling some dice. So the first thing I want to talk about is your mind. You see a problem in front of you, then you can overcome it with some clever tactic. If you come across a river and need to get to the other side, yeah, you can find the answer on your character sheet sometimes. Maybe you've got a spell that lets you fly, or maybe lets you teleport to the other side. But with enough creative ingenuity, you shouldn't even need to do anything else other than say, I'll swim across, or I'll cut down a tree and walk over, etc., etc. These things shouldn't need to be on your character sheet because if you play any role-playing game that is that in-depth, I promise you that character sheet's going to be a mile long. A lot of the role-playing games that we play go in-depth with combat, giving you a variety of tools to utilize to slay your foes. But they don't cover everything. Is that character sheet going to tell you to cut the rope of the chandelier and knock it on someone's head? No, of course not. That's something you gotta observe. That's something you gotta look around. And most important of all, that's something you have to ask if you can do it at all. And going in line with that, it's very important that you as a GM should be transparent with your players, telling them to be creative, tell them to think outside of the box, and most important of all, reward them for this creativity. If you shut them down every chance that they get, they're never going to try and expand their horizons. So it's important that we push them to greater heights. Now, as creative as any one person is, I promise you a hive mind will be that much better. So the second thing I want to talk about is utilizing your allies. It is important to talk to the other players at the table and get a feel for what they want to do. How are they going to overcome this challenge? How are they going to beat this foe? It's important to rope in as many players as you can on whatever scheme you have to try and get that creative feedback, trying to figure out the best way to handle things. And mind you, whenever you're looking at the other players, hopefully you're looking at them and not your character sheet. And something very important here as the GM is to throw in those NPC allies to get that creative feedback. Hopefully you're not playing a game of the players versus the GM. Hopefully it should be all coming together. In which case they should be informing you about their plans, about their decisions, and having those underlings or allies by their side, helping them out along the way. For GMs in particular, the fact that your character sheet is not getting in the way is especially so. For the most part, the NPC sheets that the GMs use aren't as elaborate as the PC sheets. So it is important to think outside of the box. Now, while you're talking to all the players at the table, it is important to discuss the mechanical side of things on what you can and cannot do in the system. But of course, it is important to talk about the non-mechanical things, the fun roleplay side of things, and the wacky shenanigans that you will allow at the table. And lastly here, I want to talk about rolling dice. Instead of sitting there poring over your character sheet for minutes on end, just roll some dice. At the end of the day, rolling that dice is more than likely going to dictate the outcome. You're either going to roll so bad that it doesn't matter, or you're going to roll so good it doesn't matter. Or maybe if you are creative enough in explaining your situation, maybe a dice roll doesn't need to be rolled at all. We all sit down at the table to have some fun, and I promise you, eating up minutes and minutes on end, poring over your character sheet, trying to figure out what's going on, is going to eat into that fun. Keep the game rolling, roll some dice, roll with the punches, and just have a blast. Learn to improvise, learn to work on the fly, because in reality, that's what our characters are doing most of the time, right? Your characters more often than not aren't sitting around getting minutes on end to discuss what they're going to do. They're more than likely having to figure out these things right there on the spot, and you just got to work with it. And I certainly think that that element of craziness falling into our laps is adding a lot more fun to our campaigns. allow that erraticness to grow, allow for some ingenuity to spawn, and allow for there to be creative freedom and shun away those character sheets as much as possible. So go ahead and tell me, do you find yourself glued to your character sheet at all times, trying to figure out the perfect solution? Or do you put that thing away and only look at it in the most dire circumstances? Do you think that certain game systems require those character sheets a lot more than others? And are you okay with making inoptimal plays if that means getting the game rolling? Go ahead and tell me all those things because I want to know. That's going to do it for me. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you to my patrons. You guys are incredible, and I cannot wait to see you all in the next one.